How do you say Happy Mother's Day to a mother that wasn't there for you? It's tough. I know Mother's Day is hard. Whether you've lost your mother or whether your mother is on this earth, but she didn't raise you, you have no relationship with her at all. Or if you do, it's a very surface relationship. How do you say Happy Mother's Day to a mother that wasn't there for you? It's tough. I get it. I get it. My mother suffered drug addiction and alcoholism. She started at an early age, from what she told me, was 12 years old. She started sneaking out and experimenting with different drugs. By the time, the 80s hit, 70s, she was addicted to some hardcore stuff. And we know what the 80s did with crack and cocaine. It's amazing now that I think about it that I wasn't born with any major defects. I don't think that she used drugs or alcohol while being pregnant with me. I was born in 81. We never discussed it. I never asked that. And, my mother has been gone for 4 years now. But it's amazing. She had 3 children, me, my brother, and then my little sister. And by the time I was 7, 8 years old, she was married to a military man, and we traveled a lot. So I'm an Army brat, the first beginnings of my life. And she wasn't married to my father. My father is someone else who I do not have a relationship with. I did meet him when I was 17, though. I know we're around about where he lives and everything like that, but we don't have a relationship. But anyway, my mother couldn't raise us. I remember living in California with my stepdad, and she didn't come home for a couple days. And of course, he was worried. And we were living with his mom at the time, my grandmother, you know. And he said, Tink, that's what he called me, Tink. He said, I don't know where mommy is. And I don't know, y'all. I said, I know where she is. He said, you do? So I remember getting in the car and taking him to some house in California. I'm in the passenger side, y'all. And I'm directing him to this house that obviously she used to take me with her to. And we get there and he goes in, but she's not there, but that is the house. So listen, that's a miracle in itself. Needless to say, things got hard in their marriage and we had to come back to New Jersey with our family and my mom. But when my mom got back to, the Atlantic City area, things seemed to have gotten worse because that's where she grew up. That's where she knew everyone and family, friends, and, other addicted folks. And they just spiraled out of control even more. My mom okay. My mom used to leave us, me and my siblings, at different relatives' houses for days. And, my grandmother, she was newly married at the time. She had just gotten married. She would have to come get us and clean us up and whatnot. Um, my mom sold our bikes for drugs. My mom sold our Super Nintendo for drugs. It got so bad that somebody called DIFUS on us, which was another close friend of the family. I'll just leave that there. They called DIFUS on us. And my grandparents stepped in. My grandparents stepped in and took me and my brother in, and my little sister went back with her father, the military man. It was crazy. Um, Story tells it that he wanted to take me, um, but let's just say he couldn't, and it's fine. Um, it is what it is, and you know, I remember we had this babysitter who, from what I hear, you know, throughout the years was the one who called DIFUS on us, which I'm not mad. It is what it is. But the reasons why she called DIFUS, that's what I'm mad about. But anyway, we're not even going to get into that because it's all hearsay. I'm too young. I don't know. Um. So, um, we had a babysitter, and she used to watch me and my brother, after school or before school, because my grandmother obviously had to work in Atlantic City. We would be at the babysitter's house, and I remember this babysitter used to make us hide from my mom. And what I mean is my mom would come knocking on the door like, I know my kids is in there. And she would make us be quiet or go in another room. Here we go again with the waterworks. My mom loved us, but she had an addiction. Addiction is a disease. Growing up, me being a child, I just felt like, my mom, she chose drugs over me, and, I was just a lost girl. I remember my brother, we're a year and a half apart, and we all have different fathers. We're a year and a half apart, and I remember him saying, like, I miss mommy. And I'm like, it's okay. And I was like, let's just go to the store. Like, I remember trying to get his mind off of everything. Now, during all this time, while I was with my mom and different things, I suffered a lot of trauma and sexual abuse from various people. So I had to grow up really, really fast. So growing up, I was very resentful, like I said, and I'm just like, my mom chose drugs over me, and why she couldn't be here, and I'm growing up. Now, I didn't hate my mom. I just was a child. I didn't understand it. I didn't know. I judged her. And it wasn't until I got older and talked to her and intuitively asked her, Mom, what happened to you? I have always known, and maybe this is where it started, but I doubt it, that people are the way that they are for a reason. You know, you just have to ask them, and hopefully they're willing to unpack those things. And she told me stories how the divorce from, my grandmother and, my grandfather really affected her, how she would run away. My grandfather started another family on the other side of town. And, it just was a lot for her. She didn't think that my grandmother loved her until she was like 17 and had to go off to like Job Corps and stuff like that. And my mom was raped. She just been through a lot. And at that moment, the girl, 17, 18 years old, I forgave her and I understood. And I took care of my mom the best I could. We didn't try, we put her in various drug rehab programs, which she fought me tooth and nail. I was more her mother than her daughter, right? And we did all that we could. I had children, and she was such a wonderful grandmother. What she lacked in being a mother, she made up for it with them grandkids. Okay, listen, my mama didn't play with her grandkids. She didn't play about them. She went through a lot. So, my question to you is, if your mom is still alive, have you had those conversations with her? Now, I know some moms don't want to revisit it and they don't want to talk about it. So if you have reached out, then you've done all you could do. You can just pray for healing, okay? But have you asked your mom what happened to her? Have you? Do you have grace for her? Can you forgive her even if she's not sorry? Every time Mother's Day comes around, right? Or would come around when my mom was alive. You know how you go pick out those cards and you go in the card section and by the time I was older and had kids, of course, my mom was stable. She remarried. She was married 21 years until she died. You know, she was still a functioning alcoholic, but she was off of the hard drugs, right? Since high school, I was in high school, she finally kicked the hard drugs, but weed and alcohol, she couldn't go a day without it. Um, but we had a relationship. I knew where she lived for the first time, and I always had a phone number for her. And my kids would be with her almost every weekend. So when I had kids, our relationship really turned. It really turned when like I said, when I spoke to her and had this conversation to get her side of the story. She went through so much. She went through so much. Um, so every time Mother's Day comes around, go in the store and let me find my mom, her card. And it was so hard to find a card for her because all the cards were, you were always there for me. You kissed my boo-boos and all that, good stuff. But I didn't have that. So a lot of the cards that I got her was unfortunately generic, and I would have to, write in what I wanted to say to her. But the point of this is that you show grace. The Bible says to honor our parents. It doesn't say whether they're good or not. And listen, I know some parents are very toxic. I know some mothers you have to stay away from. You've done all you can do, sweetheart. Be free. I know. But for those who have a chance to reconcile or to get to the bottom of things or to find out the why, I would encourage you to do so. It was the best thing that ever happened to me. Talking to my mom and hearing what she went through her eyes at a young age. It gave me grace. Forgive your mother. Free yourself from it. Now that my mom is gone, when she passed, she was severely depressed. Alcohol consumed her. I mean, she had to wake up with her shot of Absolute and beer, and she was an insomniac. So she rarely slept at night. She was so tiny and so thin. But she would give you anything. Like, she had so much good in her. I remember when she was really coming out of her addiction, how she used to help feed the homeless in Atlantic City at it used to be a kitchen called Sister Jean's Kitchen. I don't know if it's still operable. But she poured back into the community. She loved on her grandchildren. She loved on her family. She reconciled the relationship with my grandmother, her mother. It was strained when she was younger. She served. She was amazing in her own way. Um, so if you have the chance and you've been thinking about it, then you know that this is your confirmation. Call your mom. You don't have to agree. You don't have to like it. Forgiving and forgiveness is a process. Don't I know it? But now that she's gone, I know I did the best I could by my mom. When she passed, I'm like, Mom, I served you well. And that's what I have that comforts me. I don't want the time to run out for you. You might be angry with her right now, but trust me, when that casket closes, that's a whole nother side of anger, resentment, and unresolved questions that you will have. Forgive your mom. Thank you for tuning in. If you don't know me, my name is Kalisha. Welcome to Closing Open Wounds. And this is the type of stuff that we talk about here. We promote healing and wholeness in a safe environment. Be blessed.